Good afternoon, everybody. Well, I am absolutely delighted to see so many of you here with us today for the first free Minecraft Studio education. Give us a wave if you can see and hear us. Yeah, lovely. Everybody's waving. That's fabulous. So, as you've probably noticed, Andrew has just muted your microphones just for now because there's a huge number of people on here. It's more than I've ever had on a Zoom so far. So I'm so excited that you're all here. We are going back to the basics with Minecraft Studio. I'm going to use one of the downloads that's available from the Highlight Class website. We've got a special code and some discounts for you, but we'll worry about all that in a little bit. But yeah, just if you've got any messages or any questions, please drop them in the comments. Andrew will pop the discount code and a link to get the discount in the comments. And also if you're watching on YouTube, it will be in the box below the video. And yeah, let's get started with the very basics of Minecraft Studio. And throughout these free classes, we're going to do one a month. And as we work our way through, we'll actually use different artwork, different collections, and we'll create different designs, use the different features, and we'll actually build our knowledge together within Minecraft Studio. So we are going to start at the very basics today because I'm very aware we've got a lot of new people who have registered for these free classes. And yeah, and a lot of you are actually here at the minute. The number's going up by the minute. So yes, thank you so much to everybody who's just joining us now. And if you are watching after the live show, obviously we send the link out to everybody. If you are watching after, thank you very much for watching it back. And hopefully we'll learn something together, and you guys will learn a lot, and we'll create something beautiful. So let's have a go. So Minecraft Studio is a graphics program. It is a very simple to use graphics program. It is designed by crafters for crafters. It allows you to change the, you can bring artwork into it, you can change the colour, change the size, you can personalise with text. Everything that we do with the images that you're going to see in all of these classes, you can do with your own photographs. A little bit further down the line, we'll show you how to bring your own photographs and imagery into the program. Lots and lots that we can do. It's all very, very simple. I know some people do get a little bit worried about it, but it is very simple to use, and it's been designed to be simple so that we can actually do the stuff on the computer really quickly. I mean, obviously, you know, it's entirely up to you how long it takes you to design something, but then you can actually get on with the physical paper crafting, because that, you know, that is what we're all here for. You know, our love of paper crafting, whether that's rice papers that a lot of people are using nowadays, or whether it's creating a top sheet for you to print out and do some card making, or even a piece of home decor, or even something that you can actually email to your friends around the world. So all these different options available within the graphics program, and you just install it onto your PC. It is PC based. You need a PC running Windows XP Service Pack 2 and above, so that's pretty much the last 14-15 years, I believe. It works fine on Windows 10, Windows 11, so no problems there. And let's have a look at what the program looks like when you actually get into it, shall we? So this is the graphics program as you actually open it up. So you can see here we've got an area in the center which is white. It has a grid on it, and it also has a ruler. The ruler is you've got down the side and across the top, and the grid is actually has got a center line across it, and it's got increments on there. Now you can work with these on or off. The grid will always remain on top of your design so that you can always use it to line things up, and the ruler will also remain on top, but you can also work with them off. Now when you go into the graphics program, this is in centimeters, and you can work in inches if you choose to. So to use inches, we come down to the bottom and we see a little box. So there's one that says centimeters with a tick in it, and there's one that says inches. And if we click that box, you'll see that the grid has changed in size. The ruler is now in inches, and then we can actually work in inches. And when you bring your image on and you click on it, it will tell you the size of the image actually in inches as well. So we also have the center line of the grid. And down towards the bottom where we actually see the inches and centimeters, you can work in pixels as well. So if, you know, maybe you're creating something in for social media, something, you know, a digital design that you're creating to pop onto, you know, onto an email or something, you can actually work in pixels if you choose to. And then we have the origin mode, and you'll see at the moment it's actually got a little yellow button in the center. But when I click this, it goes to the top left. So now our ruler has changed the increment. So the 0, instead of being in the center, the 0 is in the top left corner. So we're now going from 0 up to 8 and a bit inches there, and 0 down to 11.5 inches there, because we're on an A4 page. And if we click the origin mode back, you'll see that the center point is back in the middle of the page. So just a couple of little things that we don't talk about very often when we're going through the graphics program. So I'm going to actually go back to centimeters just because that's my preferred way of working. I'm going to switch the grid and the ruler off while we're working, just because it's easier for you guys to see what I'm doing when we're looking at it on camera. So to do that, we go up to the top of the page. We see a button that says grid and a button that says ruler. They're both highlighted orange. That means they're activated at the moment. It means they're on. So we're just going to click the grid and you see the grid disappears. Then we click the ruler and the ruler disappears. Now you can work with just the grid on or with just the ruler on if you choose to. I personally prefer to have them both off, purely because it's easier for you guys to see what we're doing on camera. So when we get into the program, you see all of these buttons across here, and these all do different elements. So we've got text, overlays, digital punch, print, paint, and we've got a help button. So the help button is very important if you're new to Minecraft Studio. So we will go through all of these different tabs over the course of these education classes. Obviously it's going to take us a few months to go through everything, so bear with us. But we'll have a look at the help tab at the moment. So you see here we've actually got a help button, which is a little book with a question mark on it. And if you click on there, it actually opens up a 27-page PDF document. So you can see here, this actually talks you through various different features of the graphics program. So you see, it actually tells you what the different areas are for, how to use them. It's got keyboard shortcuts on there. And you can actually print this out if you choose to and use it as a how-to guide. We show you how to crop, we show you how to use the scissors and the lasso knife. Lots and lots of different options in there. So all of the different features using text and using the word design. So all of those are actually in this help file, is within the graphics program for you. Now, if you have any other questions, we do have, you can always email us on help@highlightcrafts.com, but also we have the Facebook group, which is Minecraft Studio official group. And in there, you've got loads and loads of people that are willing to help at any point. Somebody will jump on there at most points of the day and actually help you with your questions. So to find the artwork, obviously it's a graphics program. We want to start designing. To find the artwork, we come over to the left-hand side, and you'll see we've got this box here. When you open up the graphics program, the MCS artwork folder will be highlighted like this. And if we click on the plus beside it, that means that there's something inside that folder. So you see we've got my artwork, we've got my downloaded artwork, my downloaded verses, and my verses. And in the my artwork folder, you'll see if we click on the plus beside it, we've got a few USBs that we've actually installed onto this computer. And if I click on my downloaded artwork, you'll see I've also got the Floral Extravaganza Volume 2 additional design set. So I'm going to use this one because, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't get a chance to do the Floral Extravaganza Volume 2 TV shows, so I'm going to have a play with the artwork. So this was an extra set that we actually designed for download on the Highlight Crafts website. It is there, it is available. And we're going to have a play with this one. So we're clicking the plus beside the Floral Extravaganza Volume 2 additional design set, because that means there are other folders within that actual section. So you can see now we've got backing papers, florals and overlays, and there are no pluses beside them. So that means that when we've actually got to this one and we click on it, the images actually appear in the box below. So we'll see here we've got backing papers, we've got florals, and we've got overlays. Now I'm going to show you the different designs that we've got in here, but then I'll show you all the basics of how to actually use them within the graphics program. So we can see the backing papers. To get an image onto the page, all we do is click and drag with our mouse. So if you can pop an image into an email, you can use Minecraft Studio, because we just literally drag and drop. So you let go of the mouse once it's over this area here, and then you just pop it onto the white page. If you wanted to, you can press print at that point, and that is the design ready for you. You don't have to do any manipulation if you don't want to, but we do have a built-in graphics program, so it's definitely worth you having a play with it. When we get the image onto the page, you'll see we have the white boxes around the edges. These are to resize and reshape the image. So we can see when we pop the mouse over one of the corners, it changes to a diagonal arrow, but it actually has a double arrow head. So you can see if we drag towards the image, it makes it smaller. So you can see there, and it's actually telling us in centimeters, it's telling us in perfect increments how small it is, and we drag away from it to make it bigger. So you can see here, I'm actually making this a lot bigger, and you can see it's absolutely perfect. So if I just click and drag, you see there now, if I zoom out of the page, so to do this, we come down to the bottom right, and we just click and drag that little arrow there. And then you can see here, we've actually made this backing paper twice the size. So this is now, well, it's more than A3. I'm just going to hide this bar down at the bottom so it doesn't keep popping up. So if I just, bear with 1 second, taskbar settings maybe. So I'm going to turn that off, that one, turn that off. Okay, there we go. Right, so there you see, that's now not popping up all the time while it's not blocking the bottom of my screen and causing me to get a little bit confused. I'm hearing that there's a bit of a blurry screen, so I'm understanding, is that, sorry Andrew, so is that's to do with, because there's a huge amount of us on the Zoom, that's to do with the compression coming through Zoom, but when we upload it to YouTube tomorrow, it will be absolutely crystal clear. So if you just follow along with what I'm saying at the moment, and hopefully it may clear up, but if not, don't worry, it will be absolutely perfect when we upload it to YouTube and send you the link tomorrow. So you can see now we've actually made this design a lot bigger, but actually it's not actually changed any of the resolution. We've still got the perfect quality. So if you're wanting to create posters, if you're wanting to create large projects for your crafting, if you wanted to do home decor items, then you have that option as well. So that's how we resize, and that keeps it in proportion when we use the corner handles. If we use the top, bottom or either side, it actually squishes the image, so it doesn't keep it in proportion, and this may be the look that you're wanting. So if I put the mouse over here, we get that double arrow again, but you see now we're actually squishing the design. Now that may be the look that you're going for. That may not be helping if you're seeing a blurry screen, because it looks a little bit weird when I do that anyway, so we'll put it back to how it was. But what you'll see in this particular download is we've got a few different versions of this backing paper, and what I want to show you is a little bit of how we actually go about designing these as well. So you can see here we've got lots of different options, so we've got different layers and different versions of them, and then we've got a lovely texture there, really handy to have some contrast in there as well when you're actually doing your matting and layering, which is why we have the ones with the detail in them, ones with a little bit more detail, a little bit less detail. So we've taken some of the more prominent flowers off this one, and then we've got the softer ones, and again we've got just the simple colour wash, again because you don't always want to have a lot of detail on your matting and layering. So we'll have a look at changing the colour. At the moment we're still only working with the backing papers. So when we want to change colours and do lots of other things with the graphics program, so all the effects, we have the effects tab, which is over to the left hand side, and it's above where we actually find the artwork. So we have 4 different tabs there. Files is where we find the artwork. We have brushes and layers, which we'll get into in a little bit, and then we've got the effects tab. So with the effects tab, we have lots and lots of different options. We have the basics, which is your contrast, your brightness, which is a bit like adjusting your TV. And then we also have the opacity, which makes things transparent. To change the colour, we literally go to the colour section. I told you it's designed by crafters for crafters. We don't need to worry about fancy technical names. It's literally, it does what it says. So we're going to go to the hue slider, and we're going to click and we're going to drag. So literally we're just dragging. All I'm doing is holding this down, holding the button down with my mouse, and then moving the mouse along, and you'll see we're changing colour in real time. And then all we do when we get to a shade that we like is we just let go of the mouse, and then we can press the print button. Simple as that. Now you see that it's actually changed to shades of red, shades of pink, shades of blue, and then green. So it's gone through the colour wheel. So we've gone through 360 different variations on the colour wheel at that point. We also have the rainbow slider, which has also got 360 different variations, but what this one does is it kind of kaleidoscopes all the different colours around the colour wheel themselves. So we have yellow in here, we have green, and we have pink. So when we use the hue slider, it literally changes all of them to tones of the same red, green or pink. But when we use the rainbow slider, it uses the colour wheel on each colour individually. So we actually then, as we move this, you'll see that we actually start to get different colours coming through. So there you can see we've got purples, blues and greens. We've got pinks and lilacs and different shades of green there. I mean, how gorgeous is that? To give us a little bit more of a vintage look to the leaves on there. And then we go all the way back up to the beginning. So I'm just going to bring this down to here just for now. So you can see that's quite bright at the moment. So we may like the tone of the leaves, but maybe want it a little bit more subtle. So we're going to go to the saturation slider, take out some of the colour. And actually there you can see we're actually toning it down just to get a little bit of a tint of colour, and we can go all the way to black and white as well. So this is for any image of any type or any design that's anywhere on any of your USBs. And you can see just a little tint of colour, or we can go, I mean it was quite bright to start with, but we can go all the way up and into really vivid, intense colours. I'm going to bring that down because we don't want to have anybody feeling like they need to adjust their screen. So bring that back to the middle. We'll just go, so to get back to the middle we just click in the box, press 0 and press enter. So that's back to where we were at the beginning. And then I'm just going to bring this one back down. And you can see we've always got the original design there. But if I just change this and then change this slider, and then maybe we resize it a little bit, but then we decide that's not what we want and we've gone a little bit too far to actually, you know, maybe you think, oh, okay, so I'm really not liking what I've done. We have a couple of different options here. So we have the undo button up at the top. So you can see there, that's undone the resize, that's undone the saturation, and that's undone the change of colour. What we can also do, if I just redo those, because maybe we went back a step too far, so we can redo those. What we can also do is we've got a delete button up at the top, or we've got a delete button on the keyboard. You can press either and that design is gone. What it doesn't mean is that the design is gone forever. It just means that the changes that you've made and the design that you had on your actual, on your page has gone, so that you're starting afresh. So you can see here, we've still got the actual design there, still there ready for you. And then we've got lots of other elements within the effects tab. So you can see we've got opacity. Now opacity actually makes the image either solid, which is fully opaque, or it makes it transparent. So it makes it look like vellum. So if you're wanting the look of vellum, but maybe you don't have printable vellum, or maybe, you know, because vellum can be a little bit more expensive than paper, so you can actually get the look of vellum by printing onto paper by simply reducing the opacity. And it actually, we're all trying to save a little bit of money these days, so you can actually print onto the less expensive papers, but get the look of vellum when you're doing your matting and layering. Obviously, if you're wanting to do the tearing and curling and things like that, you would need to use vellum, but actually you can get that look if you're doing your matting and layering. If you're doing faux matting and layering on the screen as well, you can actually get that look, which is really, really beautiful. So bring the opacity back up, and then I want to show you the brightness as well. So we do actually have the brightness slider, which will take the design into pastels. So again, that's another look for it. And then we can go down into the dark jewel tones. We can increase the saturation, so we can make it more vibrant. And then we can also go in and change the colours in this way. So we actually make it, again, it looks completely different. We're still just working with the one design. If I can take the saturation the other way and then bring the brightness up a little bit, we're creating another look. I love this one. We've got some little grey areas coming in, and then the real pop of the orange and red in there. Really, really beautiful. So that's the backing papers, and that's how we change the colour. So I want to show you some of the other amazing simple features that we can actually do with Microsoft Studio. So I'm going to go into the floral section. So in here we've got a few different flowers, a few different leaf sections, so we can actually build our own poses. So one of the things I want to show you is how to create your own backing paper. So we have backing papers on all of our USBs. We also have the ones that are in this particular download. And I've just popped this image onto the page, so it's just the first image on there. I'm just going to resize it down and I'm going to pop it into the top corner. Just going to pop it in the top left corner. You don't have to put it in the top left corner, that's just my preference. And I'm just going to press the tile button. Now you see that the white buttons around the image have changed to blue. And this now means that when we move this to when we think we're going to resize it, we're actually going to replicate it. So we're replicating the image over and over again. So we created a backing paper there really quickly and simply. If I go back to the backing papers and we'll bring on, actually let's bring on this one. So we've got a little bit of detail in the back. So I'm going to right click. So now, because we've actually brought this paper on over the top of what we've already got on the page, it's as if I've literally, maybe the tiled image that we've just created is on my cutting mat. And then I've brought another piece of paper and I've put it over the top. So what I need to do is tuck it underneath. And to do that, I'm going to go to the order button and then I'm going to send it to the back. And that is tucking it underneath. So you can see here now we've got the beautiful flowers over the top. I'm going to go to the effects and I'm going to fade those down a little bit. So just a little bit, just to soften them just a little bit. So again, using the opacity slider. And then we're going to go back to the Files tab. I'm going to go into the florals and we're going to bring this one onto the page. So this is a slightly different version of that posing. So we're going to bring this one on, we're going to shrink it down. I'm going to pop it just here. and then we're going to tile this one. So I'm going to tile this one so that it actually sits in between the other design as well. So you can see we're actually getting a slightly different look here, and then we can actually move this one around so that we've actually got a couple of different layers of the design on there. Now, at the moment, some of those are quite similar in size, so I'm going to press the tile button, and that means that those boxes have changed back to white instead of blue, which means that I can now resize this particular tile. And then we press the tile button again, and we can then bring this down and bring this one down. So we're actually creating another full A4 page. I'm going to tuck that behind the last layer that we created. So I'm going to right click on the mouse, go to order, and instead of sending it to the back, because that would go all the way behind the pink backing paper, we're going to send it backwards by one layer. So we've lifted up the top sheet of paper on our cutting mat and we've tucked it underneath, but it's still over the top of the pink backing paper. So we send it backwards, and then we're going to go to the effects, and we're going to fade that one right down. So it's just a really soft bit of detail in the background. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the Layers tab and show you a little bit of what we've created. So if we go into the Layers tab, which is next to the effects, you see we've got 3 different layers on this page. So if I click the top one off, you see we've got a little tick box beside each of the different layers. You see we've got a really soft backing paper there, and this could actually be your own design, so you could actually create your different layers and then switch the different layers off for your matting and layering. So you've actually got your own unique combinations. So if I then switch this one off, but switch the top one back on, that gives us another different look. But then we can also switch this one back on and switch this one off. So we've got a different look again. So we've got the really soft shadow of flowers in between the larger elements. But then again, we can just switch this one back on, and we're ready to go. Now, one of the things we can also do is we can change the colour of all of the layers at the same time. So at the moment, because we've only got one layer selected, if we go to the Effects tab and we change the colour, it changes the colour of that one layer. So at the moment, we're just changing the colour of one layer rather than the whole thing. So we do have a button on Micro Studio. So in this top bar, which is where you find a lot of your tools, we have a button that says Select All. So that will actually grab everything that we've got on the page. So we've actually got 3 layers on here. So when I go back to the Layers tab, you'll see that all 3 are selected now. So I'm not worrying about which one I've got, whether I don't need to worry about making sure I've clicked on the right one, because we're now going to work with all 3 layers together. So when we go to the Effects tab now, and we change the colour, you can see here we're actually changing the colour of all of the designs at the same time. So you can see here, really, really easily, we're just changing all of the layers. We're not worrying about having to change them all to the same one later on. We are literally changing them all at the same time. So somebody just asked which version of Micro Studio we're using. We're using Micro Studio Elite. So when you buy a USB, you do have Micro Studio Standard and a Micro Studio Elite on the USB. And it's entirely up to you which one you choose to work with. But Micro Studio Elite is the one that most people work with, which is why we're using this one in the education. If we do have people that are wanting to look at Micro Studio Standard, then I am more than happy to just pop it in the comments or email us on help@highlightcrafts.com. Then we will definitely include that in a future edition of the free classes. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. It does have a lot of the same features, but Micro Studio Elite has a lot more of the features, and so it has all of the features of Standard and also a lot more new ones as well. And you can see at the moment, we are pretty much clicking and dragging and clicking and sliding, moving sliders, and that's all we're doing at the moment. So if I go back to the files, you see we've got all of these different elements on here now. And what I want to do is just add a little bit more depth and dimension to this backing paper. So we're going to bring on this one here, which is our beautiful eucalyptus leaves. And we're going to bring it here, bring it up here, and we'll just pop it over there. Now at the moment obviously it's overhanging the page. It doesn't actually matter, because the only things that will print when you send this to your printer are the things that are on the white page. So if you have this overhanging, it doesn't matter, because when you go to the print tab, in fact, if I go to the print tab, I can show you a preview. So if I go to preview, this will actually preview what you will see when you print it. So you can see it's chopped off all the edges, and that is how it will look on the page, determined by the printer that I have installed on this computer. If that printer was to have a border and it it doesn't print borderless, then it would actually show me the area that it would crop on the inside. For example, we have a HP printer in the office that does not print borderless. It doesn't actually have that function on it, and it actually has quite a big border at the bottom. So if we were connected to that one, it would show me that there'd be a white border down here and then quite a big white border at the bottom, but at least I would be able to see what I was going to print. So I'm going to click the preview off, and you can see that we've actually got these elements on here. Just get rid of the little pop-up there. And so I'm going to actually crop this eucalyptus design down. So we're going to get rid of this little bit that's on there anyway. So we'll go back to the Home tab. And again, over on the Home tab, we've got lots and lots of different tools. So in here, we've got the crop tool. And this allows us to crop any image. We can only crop the sides in, so we can't crop in a circle, but we can do that, and we'll do that with digital punches on a later class. But when we click the crop tool, it doesn't look like anything's happened, but we've actually highlighted the crop tool. So if I now click and drag, you'll see it puts a box over the image. And this will only work on the actual image that you've got selected. So you can see that the box is over the top of the actual image and it is the same size as the image. So I'm clicking and dragging. So again, I'm just not letting go of the button on my mouse. Just click and drag to actually highlight the area that you want. And then when you're happy with it, let go of the mouse. Now, if you actually have, just to see, I've not quite got it down the edge perfectly there. So we're just going to go back in just a little bit and then back down a little bit just at the bottom. And then we're just going to press OK. And then the rest of that design has actually disappeared. So you can see there we've actually built our own totally unique backing paper, which coordinates beautifully with the set that we do actually already have on here, because you can see it coordinates perfectly because we've used the same designs that we actually put into these backing papers to create our own. So if you wanted something a little bit different, you actually have the ability to build your own design completely. Now, one of the things that we can also do is, it's got lots and lots of different things here. So I'm going to show you the overlays that we have in this download as well. So with the overlays, I'm very aware that we're about halfway through, and I've not asked if anybody's got any questions yet. So if you do have any questions, pop them into the chat. Oh, sounds like we're getting good feedback. So thumbs up, yeah. Andrew is still trying to fix the blurriness, but we promise you it will be absolutely crystal clear once it's on YouTube tomorrow. So perfectly clear. So I've got the backing paper on here, so I've gone for the really plain one, and then we're going to go with the overlays. So the overlays are basically when we create the backing papers, you'll be able to see when I bring this one on. When we create the backing papers, we do obviously we use a much more expensive graphics program when we create the design, but it allows us to do these bits of faded designs and build them into the papers. But what we do now, since we actually brought Minecraft Studio back last year, we put all of these extra elements on so that you can mix and match them yourself. So in the overlays section, what our lovely Sam, who's designed this, has done for us is he's popped these in just there. So you can literally just pop them straight over the top, and that's your backing paper. So, and you can choose which one you want to put over which backing paper. So we can actually bring on, we can bring on this backing paper here, and we can right click and send that one backwards, because again, remember, we just pulled this over the top and we put it on top of the overlay that we just pulled on. Now, if we send it to the back, it will go all the way to the back. So we're going to send it backwards by one layer. So we've lifted up the flowers, we've tucked it underneath and put the flowers back down. We've got a totally different look there. So if I then just delete that one, we've still got the cloudy one underneath. I can go into the overlays and I can remove that one, and we can bring this one on. So you see when we tile in Minecraft Studio, we go straight across and straight down. We've actually got some diagonal ones in here for you. So we've created those ones for you so that you can get a very similar look if you wanted to, but you could actually put these flowers on here. And then if I go to the Layers tab and I click on the backing paper, so we're just going to change the backing paper. So obviously when I showed you a minute ago, we pressed the select all button because we wanted to change all of the layers at the same time. But on this one, I just want to change the colour of the backing paper because maybe I don't want an overly pink project, but I really want to use these particular flowers. So because we in the Layers tab, we have the backing paper selected, we go to Effects and we use the colour sliders, we're actually just going to change the colour of the back layer. So we can go into the greens, and obviously that's a little bit bright at the moment, so we'll take a little bit of the saturation out so that it tones a little bit more. So you can see there we tone it a little bit more. Let's go a little bit further down on the green. So we've actually got a green backing paper instead to go with exactly the same designs. So it works with the same design sets absolutely perfectly. And what we can do now is we can save our design. So I think it's very important that we show you in the first lesson that we can actually save your project. So when you're sat playing with Minecraft Studio, if at any point you decide that maybe you need to go and get the kids from school or go and start cooking dinner, then you can actually save your projects. So we're going to click on the Save As button, which is in the top left corner. So I'm going to click on that, and it brings up the any documents that you've created. So it defaults to your My Documents on your computer. You can save them anywhere you like just by simply changing this section here. So you can change it to a USB drive, you can save it anywhere that you like. So we're going to save this on here, and we're going to call it Green and Flowers. So we're going to press Save. So what I'm going to do now is delete these off the page, and I'm going to click on here, and we're going to open a document because we've saved it as a Minecraft Studio file, which means we can still edit the document. So if I now go to Green Flowers, click on there and open, you'll see that it's actually opened the file for me. So we can actually save the file, and then we can come back later, and if we wanted to, we can go back into the Layers tab, click on the backing paper, go to Effects, and maybe this time we want to have a yellow tone to the backing paper. So we can go into the yellows, make it a little bit more bright, so we bring the saturation back up a little bit so it tones more with the design there, and we'll go back into the oranges a little bit more and just adjust the saturation a bit more so it actually tones perfectly. So again, we've got a totally different look. We can reduce the opacity if we want to. Maybe we just want a really subtle design. Absolutely beautiful, and you can save that design as you choose. Now, one of the things that we can also do is save the design as a flat file. So at the moment, we've got the two layers separately. But what I want to do is save this as a backing paper so that I can bring it on and do everything else that I do with all the other backing papers. So we go back to the Save As button. It's still got the name in there, Green Flowers. Now I've changed it to yellow, so I'm going to change it to yellow on there. So we're just changing the name of the file, and we're going to click on the little drop down. And you'll see we can change it, save it as a JPEG. We can save it as a PNG if we choose to, but I would save this one as a JPEG because it is a full image. If it was an image that had got part of the area that was transparent, I would save that as a PNG, but this is a full solid image. So I'm going to save it as a JPEG, and I'm going to save it as a JPEG Pro quality. We have the option to save it as JPEG Pro, Best and Low quality. Low quality is what I would save if I wanted to do some test prints, or if it was just something that I was going to only ever send via email. Then you can actually save space on your computer or on your USB or your external hard drive by saving them as low quality, but always save your MTSX file, which means you can go in and edit it because that will always be of the highest quality. This one I'm going to save as JPEG Pro quality. You can see there we're calling it Yellow Flowers. There's some bits I've created previously. I'm going to press the Save button. So now we're going to get rid of these off the page. And then what we're going to do now is go into the Files section. So to open one of your files that you've saved as a JPEG or a PNG, we go to the Files, and then we go to wherever it was that you saved it. So I saved this one in Documents, and here's my Yellow Flowers. So this is now a flat document. I can't separate out the flowers, and you can see how I can't separate them out, but when I go to the Effects tab and I use the Hue slider, I'm now changing the colour of the whole document. And then I've also got the rainbow slider, which again will change it in its own unique way because we've changed the colours a little bit. So actually the backing paper then changed it to coordinate with the blues and the greens rather than the pinks, because that's what we actually changed it to coordinate with. So that's how we save our files. I understand there is a question about layers, sorry. Okay, so in the Layers tab, unfortunately there isn't a way to drag the layers up and down. So if we did have, I'm just going to see how far back it will let me undo. See if I can go back far enough. Yeah, so there we've got a couple of layers on. Unfortunately, there isn't a way to drag these up and down, so I'm afraid that's not one of the features, but you can always right-click and use the order, and we can send to back or send backwards. Now, if you've got quite a few layers on there, and you're wanting to send something quite a way into your design, I would always send it to the back and then bring it forwards by a couple of layers rather than sending it back. You know, if you're building a rice paper design or something with lots of maybe lots of flowers into a bouquet or something, to save going and send backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards, I would send it to the back and then bring it forwards by 1 or 2 layers, because it might just mean that you've got a few less clicks. So I hope that helps on that one. And then, okay, so some people are asking how to get the download into Minecraft Studio or off a USB. Okay, so if we're working from a USB, and then what we do is we go into this box here. So this box here will actually find anything that is anywhere on your computer, as long as it is an image file that is a JPEG or a PNG. So it's entirely up to you which folders they're in. And if you're wanting to use a something that's on a USB, in this folder here, you literally just find the USB. So there is one in this computer. I think it's got this download on it. So if I just go to the USB drive, and you'll see there, so I've got one here that says USB content. So this is actually, so this USB has got some SVG files in it, so it hasn't actually got backing papers in it, but you can see that it actually shows me the files there. To see if there's anything else on this USB that we can actually have a look at. There we go. Oh yes, so this has actually got the download on it as well. So you can see here we've got so if we go to the USB drive, it's got 3 different folders. Here is the download for Minecraft Studio, and here are the backing papers that we've literally just been working with. So that's how you find the artwork on a USB. And if you've downloaded it onto your computer, you would go into your downloads on the, so you see it's in your, it's usually in Documents or My Documents, and then there's a Downloads folder. So it would be in there for you. If you want to actually move it into your My Downloaded Artwork folder in Minecraft Studio, what I would do is pretty much what we have done here, which is if I just minimize this a little bit, it's going to resize this box and get this one up as well. So what we've done here is we put the artwork onto a USB, showing you all the trade secrets now. Because this computer in the studio isn't connected to the internet, so that we don't have weird pop-ups and things going off, we put the artwork onto a USB to put it onto the computer. So what we do, in one window, we go to Documents or My Documents, depending on your computer. In there, you will find MCS artwork. That is the folder where you need to put anything if you want it to appear in the usual folder in Minecraft Studio. So double click on there, and then in My Downloaded Artwork, we've actually popped the Floral Extravaganza Volume 2 additional download. So all we did was we opened up Documents, opened up MCS artwork, opened up My Downloaded Artwork, and then we just literally clicked and dragged. So if I just do this now, because the file's got a different name, it will actually pop that into there. You see now, just literally clicked and dragged it from the USB into there. So you would do this from your Downloads folder on your computer. Just drag it into the My Downloaded Artwork, and then that is in the graphics program ready for you to use. So if you have any USBs that don't necessarily have the graphics program on them, but do have JPEGs and PNGs, then absolutely you can do the same with those. But with those, I would put them into My Artwork rather than My Downloaded Artwork, because then at that point you know the difference between the two. So you know where the file came from. You know if it came from a USB or a CD-ROM, if you've still got some of those, it's in My Artwork. If it's something you actually physically downloaded off the internet, pop it in your downloaded artwork, and then you know where it would work from. And you can use it from the USB as well. So if I just click back into the graphics program, so you'll see now in My Downloaded Artwork, I've actually got the DL1757, and then it's got the very long name, because that's the actual name when we upload the file for the download to the internet. So you can see that's got that there now, and we can work from that download file. And because that is on this USB, I can also show you that if we go to the computer on this one, so this PC, so on here it's called this PC rather than My Computer. You'll see we've got the USB drive, and then if I go into the download here, we can actually work from the download. So if I go here, we'll just bring this leaf onto the page, and we put the leaf in the corner, make it a bit bigger, rotate it around, then we're actually working from the folder on the USB rather than the folder on the computer. So there's lots and lots of different ways that you can actually work with the artwork from from the downloads or from your computer or from from USBs, CD-ROMs, external hard drives. If you've got photographs on an external hard drive, you would literally just find that external hard drive in here. For the an external hard drive is just a massive USB basically. What I will do for the next class is I will show you specifically how to bring photographs in. I'll have some photographs on this computer ready and we'll show you that one next time. I just didn't want to get too overwhelmed with lots and lots of different things on the first one because I'm very aware we've got some absolute beginners on this particular class. So so that just shows you a little bit of how you can find the artwork. It is literally a case of find the artwork in this top left box, and this top left box will have folders for everywhere on your computer. So find your images and then just literally drag them onto the page in exactly the same way. So when you actually install the graphics program from a USB, it will put the artwork into the My Artwork folder automatically for you, as long as you click the box that says put the artwork onto my computer. If you choose not to put the artwork onto your computer, then it will actually just leave it on the USB, and then you will just work in the same way that we're doing now with the USB. So just click onto the USB drive, click onto the artwork folder, and then you just choose the design that you want to work with and work with it that way. So yeah, any more questions on finding artwork and locating artwork? I know at some point we're going to be asked about getting PDFs into the graphics program. I need to get some more stuff installed on this one to look at that one. But there's so yeah. So if you have got PDFs, then you can convert them online. There's lots of places online where you can convert them to JPEGs and PNGs if it's a transparent one on your PDF. But the graphics program itself only reads JPEGs and PNGs because it wants you to build the images yourself. A PDF tends to be the finished article from a lot of other graphics programs. So that's why we use JPEGs and PNGs, because you're actually creating the design yourself. So, so I just wanted to show you a couple of other things that are really quick and easy to use, but people actually get a little bit, not necessarily overwhelmed with, but people may get a little bit confused about and not necessarily understand what the feature is actually for. So we have our digital punches in the graphics program. So if we go to the top of the page, now you see here we've got so many buttons that we haven't even looked at yet, and we're going to work through these over the next few months. But the digital punch is a really simple one. It's really effective, but sometimes people need it explaining and they just want to understand a little bit more about the detail behind it. So a digital punch is a paper punch in the same way that your physical paper punches create a positive and a negative. However, what the digital punches do are they create it digitally, obviously, but also it means that you can do lots of different matting and layering with them. So we've got all these different options here. So every one of these little stars is a drop down for different themes and different styles of digital punches. So you can see we've got some kids ones in here, we've got everyday, we've got men's, we've got ladies, but we'll start with basic shapes and we'll go with a circle to start with. So you can see it's transparent, it always puts it in the top left corner, and one of the biggest questions we get asked with digital punches is I can't see the digital punch, it's not putting it on my page. And that may be if you're zoomed in to the page and you're zoomed in quite a way down, or you're zoomed in at the bottom of the page, or maybe your screen resolution has your page quite large, then that might be why you can't see the digital punch. Just zoom out of the page just by dragging the little slider down at the bottom right, and you'll see the digital punch. It always puts it at the top left. So it's transparent, so you can actually see the area that you want to punch out. So we can see, we can pop this wherever we like. We can actually click and drag. We can resize this in exactly the same way as all of our other images. We can make it an oval if we want to. We do have an oval in there. So we're just going to resize this and we're just going to pop it towards the top of the page. And now we have two buttons, well, we have three buttons actually, up at the top left of the page. We have keep inner, keep outer, and we also have fill in. We'll get to fill in a couple of minutes. So the keep inner button shows us, it actually shows us in the button that there's a little yellow circle. Now the yellow area is the area that you're going to keep. And because it says keep inner, we're going to keep everything inside of the digital punch. So we move the digital punch and we now have a circle that we've punched out of our backing paper. Perfect for matting and layering. We can bring another paper on and we can bring the digital punch. So again, we need to bring the punch forwards because we've actually brought another sheet of paper on over the top. It's as if you've actually put a sheet of paper over the top of your punch. So we're going to go to order, we're going to bring it to the front this time. Going to resize it down just a little bit, and we're going to keep the inner of that one. And then we can delete the punch off the page. And you can see there we can actually do some matting and layering now digitally, or we can actually leave those on the page separately and actually print them and cut them out independently if you choose to. So I'm going to go back to the Home tab and I'm just going to undo so that we've got the full page back on the screen. So you can see we can undo, I think we can undo up to 20 times. So you've got lots and lots of scope for, and again, if you did decide you'd gone too far back, you can always come back a step as well. So we're going to click on the digital punch, back to the digital punch tab, and this time we're going to select the keep outer button. So obviously we've kept the inner, the keep outer keeps everything outside of the punch, and it actually shows you that by the yellow area on the button itself. So we click that there, move the digital punch, so you can see we have a white hole in the centre. It's not actually white, it's transparent, so you can see that you can actually see through the design there. So if we bring this backing paper back on here, we pop it over the top, right click, and we'll send it to the back. You see that we can actually pop that behind there as well. So one of the things that we can do now is we can use the fill in button. So I'm just going to remove this and pop this back here, and we will actually delete the circle punch off the page, and we will go to, let's go to doilies and lace. So we'll get one of the lace doilies and we'll pop this in the middle of the circle. So we're just going to pop that in there, and we're just going to pop it centrally into there. So you can see there. So you can see that we've popped that in there. Now, if I wanted that a specific size, somebody, Phil has just asked about typing in an exact measurement. Yes, absolutely. So we're going to come down to the bottom again, and we're going to come down to the very bottom left of the screen, and it actually tells you the size. So you can see you've got page size, then we've got the left and top measurements tell you whereabouts on the page the actual image is, and then we've got the width and the height. So this is, at the moment, this is 11.97 centimetres. If we wanted it to be 12.2 centimetres, we literally click in this box down here, type in 12.2, and then you press enter on your keyboard, and you can see it's actually just adjusted the size a little bit there. If I just make it 15.3, you'll see it's actually resized it a lot more. So actually we can be very, very specific. So if you're wanting to print something to fit with your, maybe you've got your fundamental dies or your tattered lace essential dies, then absolutely you can make the design fit your dies. And as long as you print into actual size, you're not telling it to fit to page, then it will be the right size for what you need for your dies. So we're going to pop that centrally into there. Now, unfortunately, I am going to answer this question before I believe it gets asked. There isn't a button in Microsoft Studio to align images. It is a case of doing it by eye, but there are a couple of things that you can do. You can use the buttons, so the arrow keys on your keyboard, just to nudge things, and you can actually use the grid as well to make sure that things are centered. So a couple of different options there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press the fill in button. So if I press this button, you'll see that has now filled in the actual area from the original backing paper, but it hasn't copied it onto another layer. It's actually refilled it on the original layer. So we actually have the option to create totally unique designs, because we can then, again, we can bring this backing paper on, we can right click and send it to the back. And while we've still got that one selected, we can go to the effects and we can just fade it down just a little bit, so there's just a little bit of colour there, so it's not a solid white behind it. But what we can also do is click on this one. So because we've got this one selected, we can actually add a shadow to it. So it actually lifts this one off the page, so it digitally looks like you've actually added dimension. So we're going to come back to the effects tab, and all we've looked at so far are these top two sections. You'll see there's so many different sliders on here that we've not even touched yet, and we will go through them all in full detail as we go across these classes. But you can see we can add a drop shadow. So straight away we're actually adding a black shadow to the design. We can change the direction. So the depth button gives you the actual depth of the shadow. So you can see actually we can make it really deep, we can make it really shallow. We've got a huge amount of variety in there. We can also change the direction. So this is, it's as if you're controlling the sun. Now, wouldn't that be nice on these gloomy winter days? So if you have light in your design that's coming from a certain area and you really want to carry that through into the rest of your design, then you can actually make sure that the light's coming from the right direction. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference if you're doing matting and layering and things, but if you're wanting to build your own design, then that would make a difference for you. But then, because it's a solid black line at the moment, we're just going to soften it by using the blur radius. And you can see there we've actually created some shadow detail on there. Just going to zoom into the page so that you can see that there. So you see we've got this beautiful lace that we've actually cut out of here, and every single bit of that lace has got its own little shadow underneath. If I go to the Layers tab and switch off the design underneath, you'll see we've actually created some depth and dimension in the project just by using a couple of sliders, and that's really, really great when you're doing scene building, but also if you're wanting to do faux matting and layering. So what I want to show you now is a little bit of faux matting and layering with the digital punches. So we'll go back to the files, and we'll grab the backing paper. So we'll go with this one to start with. So we'll use this one as the back layer, and I'm going to keep the design the same size so that we have some quite large detail on the matting and layering. And I'm going to go to basic shapes, and we will get let's have a scalloped square. So we're going to grab this one here and we're going to pop it over here. So we're going to fussy cut because I'd like to have some of this detail on this particular arrangement on my matting and layering, and maybe a little bit of this down in the corner as well, so we can really get into detail about which areas we choose from the design. And we're going to keep the inner, and then we're going to resize the square down. So resizing that down, and we're going to bring on the next backing paper. So this has got a little bit less detail. Actually, I'm going to go, oh yeah, it's got quite a bit less up there. So we're going to bring the punch to the front. So bring that to the front, and we'll go for an area that's got some very soft edges, and we will keep the inner of that one, and we'll pop that over the top. So you can see now it actually looks like it's blending into it purely because it is from the same design set. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the effects, and we're going to go down to the drop shadow. We're going to add some dimension, so you can see straight away we're lifting that design. And we can lift the design on any of the sides dependent on where we choose to have the shadow. So I'm just going to pop it down there, and then we're going to go with the blur radius, and we're just going to soften that a little bit just there. So you can see we're adding dimension into our matting and layering, but we're doing it digitally. So we'll get another backing paper and we'll bring this one onto the page this time. Again, we're going to bring the punch forwards. So we're going to go order and bring to front. We need to resize it down again, and we'll go about there, and we will keep the inner. We'll pop that one over the top. We'll add a little bit of a drop shadow to that one. So again, it's literally just into the effect, down to the drop shadow. The depth determines the actual the depth of the physical shadow. So it's almost like you're deciding whether you've used 1mm, 2mm or 4mm 3D foam. So it's the depth of your 3D foam tape. And then we use the direction again, so we'll just bring it around to about the same place. So we've got a little bit just showing on the left and then the bottom and the right. And we just soften that one again with the blur radius. So we'll get that nice and soft there. And then we'll go back to the files. We'll go to the florals, and we'll just bring on this lovely little flower just here. And pop that down there. And then because my square is the same size, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it to the front, and I'm actually going to pop it, bring the punch to the front rather than the flower, which I just did. So I'm going to pop that over the top, so just literally popping it straight over the top of where we just were. Then I'm going to click on my punch, and we're going to keep the inner. And then we will have just actually created a topper, which is then taken out the areas and given us some little extra detail in there. So we're just going to pop that to one side just for now, and we're going to pop this on here, and we're now going to actually blend this into the topper. So we're going to go into the drop shadow again, and we're just going to add a tiny bit of drop shadow to this one just to lift it a little bit. blur the radius. So again, just a little bit of depth. So just like we've got in these ones, a little bit of shadow and everything. And then we're going to go back up to the top to the opacity and fade this down into the backing paper so that we're then creating our own unique design. So you can use the drop shadows for your matting and layering, but you can also use it when you're building your designs as well. So whether you're building scenes or whether you're building actual poses and bouquets, something to just quickly show you. Obviously we do have the complete poses and bouquets here. You can see that there, but actually we also have the individual floral elements as well. So if I bring on this flower here and then bring on this one, which, so on the one that we've designed, that flower's up at the top, but maybe you just want several of these. So we're going to copy and paste, and we'll paste another one and move that one over there. So it pastes it directly over the top of the original one. So pop that one over there, pop that one down there. We'll resize that one down a little bit, and then we'll resize this one and pop it there. We're going to tuck that one behind. So we're going to send that one to the back. So you can see we're just building a little bit of a posy here. We can bring in some foliage just to send to the back, just to actually start to add some greenery in there. If I send that to the back, and then if I, let's have a look, so I want to grab that little flower there, so I'm going to go to the Layers tab, and I'm going to click on those flowers until I know I've got the right one, so that one there, and then we're just going to right click, and we're going to bring that one forwards, and then we'll bring it forwards again so that it's in front of that design, and then I just need to nudge it down. Just click on it there, and then we're just going to click and we're just going to nudge this one down out of the way so that we can just grab that corner of that one, bring this one down here and pop that one back up there, resize the foliage. So you can see we can just literally sit and design to our heart's content. I've just rotated that around because I think it looks a little bit more natural with the foliage going off at a bit of an angle. I'm going to go back into here and we'll bring in this beautiful apricot rose there, which absolutely, is that a rose? I'm not even sure that is a rose. I don't know. My flower knowledge tends to end at hydrangeas because they're really easy to spot. So we're just going to pop this beautiful flower just here. I'm going to pop it and we're just going to send it back a few times so that it actually tucks behind a couple of these. So I'm going to send backwards and we're going to go backwards again. I just want it to go behind this pink flower, so again send backwards, and there you can see we've just tucked it behind that particular flower there. I'm just going to resize this one down a little bit so you can see there. So you can see we've created our own little a little posy. If I click and drag over all of them and then select all, oh, actually I need to delete that one off the page and then select all, I can then group it together and resize all at the same time. So the artwork that we're using is actually from the Minecraft Studio Floral Extravaganza Volume 2 Additional Designs. So this is a download that's actually, I can't remember how much the download is on the website. I think it might be £5, but at the moment with the code MCS1 you guys get 30% off the downloads that are on the page. So I need to tell you about that because I've got completely carried away and forgotten about that. So we do have a page which has got all the downloadable artwork packs from Minecraft Studio on it, on the Highlight Crafts website. I'm just going to pop the link into the chat and underneath the video in YouTube. And until, what was the date, Andrew? For 2 weeks, we actually, so until midnight on the 20th, if you use the code MCS1 on any of the downloads on that link, you actually get 30% off those downloads. So it will be in, and we'll pop the information in the email that we send you with the link to watch the education back as well. But this is absolutely beautiful, and you can see it's quite, you know, it's not a huge set of artwork, so it's not overly expensive. But actually, there's quite a lot of scope in here for you to actually build your own designs and create your own arrangements and floral accessories. Did you say there was another question, Andrew? Right, okay, so can we change the colour of a drop shadow? In essence, no, but there's another way of creating a drop shadow, of creating a shadow of sorts that will give you a different colour. So if I just quickly copy and paste this, have we got time to do this, Andrew? So I'm just going to quickly copy and paste this design. Bear with me 1 second, I just need to copy and paste. So we've got 2 on the page. So I'm going to add a drop shadow to this bottom one here, just so that you can see the difference between the 2. So again, with the drop shadow, we choose the depth, we choose the direction, and then we use the blur radius to actually soften the edges of the drop shadow. This one here, I'm going to right click and copy and right click and paste. And then what I need to do is make sure that I'm on the bottom layer, which is the one that I've got highlighted here. If I was on the top layer, it may be that you guys would think that I'd smeared Vaseline over the front of the camera, which I probably am not doing. So when we go to the Effects tab, we have the blur slider. So if I use the blur slider, it actually blurs the layer at the back, and you can see that we've actually got a very soft shadow actually appearing. If I zoom into the page, you'll see we've got a very, very soft shadow appearing around the edge of the design. So if I pull that back down, you'll see we've got a solid edge around the image there. But if I move back across on the blur slider, across to the right, it actually gives us a shadow and a bit of depth to the design. And what it does is it actually pulls out the colour all the way around the image. Now, we're not doing any new tricks or anything with this one. What we're doing is we're blurring the image behind. So if I go to the Layers tab and I switch off the layer above it, so I've still got the back one highlighted, and I blur it, you'll see that that's actually what's happening, which is why I said it looks like I've smeared Vaseline over the camera, which I haven't. If I go back to the Layers tab and switch the top one on, it actually gives us that really soft focus on the back layer, which then gives us a slightly different look. And it's a little bit softer, but if you don't want the black drop shadow, that is a way of actually doing it for you. And you can also change the colour on that back layer. So you can see there, again, I'm going to zoom into the page so that you can see the detail. But if I go back to the beginning, you can see there we can change the colour on the drop shadow, and it cycles through in exactly the same way as it does on all of the other images. I'm just going to darken this just a little bit more so that you can see that there. So you can see we're actually changing the colour of that one behind, but if we leave it at the original colour, it is the colour of the actual design that we actually created it from. So that's just an extra way of creating a bit of depth and dimension to your project without using the drop shadow if you don't want the grey look. So hope that helps. And I think that's about it for today. So yeah, okay, so I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everybody for joining us. There were so many more people than we actually thought were going to be here, so it's amazing to know that I'm not sat talking to myself for the afternoon. So it's been lovely to see you all, to see all your smiling faces, and there's been a huge amount of concentration there. So we'll send you your homework in an email tomorrow. Just joking. So we will be back next month with more free education. Thumbs up if you've enjoyed the class today. Yay! So pleased that you were able to join us, and again, we will send the link to watch it back tomorrow. And again, Andrew has popped a link in the chat below and also in the YouTube description for the discount, and the code to use on that link is MCS1, and it will get you 30% off for the downloads on that link only. So it is, if you choose to download an SVG download pack, it won't work on those ones. It's the Minecraft Studio artwork packs that it works for. We've got scene building, we've got all kinds of florals in there. We've even got a Christmas one if you wanted to get started early. Lots and lots of options in there. But yeah, I would just love to say thank you so much to everybody for joining me. If you want to see more and you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the notification button so that you actually get to see when we add some more detail and some more videos. Lots and lots of other education on there for you, card making and all kinds of things. So have a look at the YouTube channel for everything that we're getting up to. And yeah, we will see you next month. And thank you so much again for joining us. It's been fabulous. Been great to have your company. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Then click the bell icon to receive notifications for all our new content.